Welcome to the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. Let me ask you a question. What types of diseases run in your family? Is there any heart disease in your family? Is there any diabetes that runs in your family? Any stroke, cancer? What are those diseases that run in the family? The topic that I'm sharing with you today is something that unfortunately I find that people find out, if they find out, only after it's too late. And I am committed, maybe it's still the nurse in me, that you are fully educated on all aspects of health that are affecting your life, your health, and also the life and the health of your family. I'm Leslie M. Thornton. Welcome to the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. If you are here with me live on Facebook, hello, great to be with you. If you have not yet joined my Facebook group, please head on over, even if Facebook isn't your thing. This is just a place where we can actually connect in a deeper way. You can ask questions underneath the video live, and I try to go and record my podcast live on here as much as I can. So you'll be notified of when those live podcasts happen, along with masterclass information when I do live events. And community is a big way for how we heal. So the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss community, if you go on Facebook, type in the search bar, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss community, answer those 3 quick questions in the beginning, and immediately you'll get actually access to my free training. So win-win there. Great to be with you, and let's dive right into this topic. So this past week, I actually completed providing the neurolinguistic programming practitioner, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and NLP coaching certification program. These were full days, about a week-long training, where people get officially certified in NLP coaching, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. I believe it's about my 10th training. I had to go back and actually count, but that's right around there. And it's just great to see how much these people get the unconscious work on a deeper level. And one of the topics that we cover, which is why I'm doing this podcast today, within timeline therapy, there is a section where you ask your unconscious mind what was the first event when you started believing, that you had to do things on your own, or that life was hard, or you have to work hard in order to make things happen, or it's hard to lose weight, or I can't do it. It's impossible. Fears, doubts, worries, right? We all as human beings have them, especially when we're going after particular goals. We wouldn't be humans if we didn't have them. And sometimes the unconscious mind, as we're going through the process, I'm not going to go through the whole how that technique works today, it will want to hang on to those old disempowering stories that you have about yourself. There's usually a secondary gain, like it believes that you're going to stay safe by continuing to believe I'm not good enough, because then you don't have to put yourself out there, and then you don't have to feel the emotions of putting yourself out there and feel perhaps rejected if that were to happen. It's just all human beings, patterning and programming does this. So sometimes it's a little bit sticky. And so one of the ways that we loosen the grip on that so your unconscious mind feels safe to let it go is to remind the unconscious mind that by hanging on to negative emotions as well as negative decisions, disempowering beliefs about yourself, actually wreaks havoc on the body. So did you know that anger is actually correlated with heart disease? It might kind of make even a little bit of logical sense. You think of someone getting angry, like having a stroke, you can kind of get this, and I'll share with you how I saw this coming up. So yes, heart disease, stroke, high cholesterol can all be related to the emotion of anger being in there, in your body, kind of pent up. Sometimes you know about it, and sometimes you're not really too present. And how it shows up for a lot of my clients is that's when the numbing activities will happen, overeating, drinking, scrolling, what have you. Depression is related to sadness. Oh, that's an obvious one. Let me correct that. Diabetes is related to depression and sadness. And that's what we don't know. So when I was working as a nurse in the hospital for the years that I did, I worked in kidney transplant, worked in the surgical and neuro ICU. In kidney transplant, sometimes you get patients from different units if the hospital was full or something. And I noticed that every single time that I had a heart patient, even before I knew the research about how unprocessed anger in the body can actually long-term lead to heart disease, I kind of noticed that there were certain energies, if you will, personality traits of people that had different diseases. And I can still see, when I had that awareness, this one man, I remember literally the hospital room that he was in on the unit I worked at. And I was like, wow, why does it seem like people who have heart disease are kind of like crotchety, people? There was just kind of like this edge, I could still sense, because I always see the good in people, for good or bad, that they were this like you just wanted to love them, most of the time. But they had this. There was like a similarity. Then I could still remember the patient that I had who had diabetes. She was there for a long time, and she was really sweet. But there was this overall experience that she had around her of sadness, of depression. And I don't know about you, but have you ever had times when you feel maybe sad? Maybe not every time, but you feel sad, and maybe like sugar is a little pick-me-up, right? And have you ever been present to the fact that when you're angry, if you're really pissed off, you had a really bad day at work or something like that, have you ever, and I'm not saying it's currently, because I'm sure you've done a lot of work on yourself and evolved, but have you ever grabbed an alcoholic beverage to numb? So, okay, so people who are chronically angry might drink alcohol, which can raise the blood pressure. They might also choose, heavier meals, red meats and carbs and these things that cause heart health, grease, right, issues, as a way to numb out on that anger. Okay, and people who are depression, to help them with their sadness, are reaching for the sugar to help kind of self-medicate ourselves. And so as a society, we continue to treat the symptoms and say the way to end the heart disease is to take out red meat and to, right, stop drinking alcohol, heart healthy diet. We used to have our little nutrition printout, and they teaching the person before discharge about the heart healthy diet. Yeah, we get it. And it's not discounting the science that's true, but we are not addressing the root of why these amazing, incredible human beings are not actually able to easily follow the heart healthy diet. Most of the time, you give people that nutrition sheet in the hospital and they forgot it, they didn't care about it, they had every good intentions to follow it, and then we're back in the hospital again and did not follow it. It didn't work. It doesn't work. We can have the best intentions and it still doesn't work. Why are these individuals gravitating towards these foods in the first place? And that's really what makes this work different, is the fact that we are working at the root of why it's happening. And all the time, with any addiction or, right, any obsession, any attachment that you have to anything, we are avoiding the emotions that are underneath. And some of you get that immediately, and I've had enough conversations with you right? As people who are in my world and listening to this podcast and having calls with me, they actually don't identify with being an emotional eater, or, yeah, when I ask that question, which is so interesting. But sometimes they'll say, I'm not an emotional eater, but I'm a stress eater. And, or I am a mindless eater, or boredom. Me saying emotional is an umbrella of any of those things. Do you eat when you procrastinate? That's also part of this as well. We're not actually looking at the root cause. So I wanted to share some actual research that has been done to, back up what I'm saying about these diseases and how they're caused by blocked emotion. Okay, so the CDC and Harvard studies have shown that chronic stress and suppressed emotions increase inflammatory markers, accelerating aging, and raise the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and this also says in cancer. I have studied, right, how foods affect like the body on the biological level and like inflammatory markers. My dad and my sister, they have autoimmune disease, bowel, colon cancer, right? Crohn's disease stuff. And so because of that personal care for them, I've, invested in courses to understand, how gut health is everything and how, it can affect the lining of the stomach and can go out and cause inflammation. I know all of that kind of stuff. And so this research makes sense. Chronic stress and suppressed emotions increase inflammatory markers, aging. And so it's like, okay, when you're chronically stressed out, like you're going to be eating a lot. So anyway, I digress. The ACE, so it's the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, found that unresolved emotional trauma is one of the biggest predictors of chronic illness, obesity, addiction, and even early death. What? Can we get that piece of information again? Adverse Childhood Experiences study found that unresolved emotional trauma is one of the biggest predictors of chronic illness, obesity, addictions, and even early death. The NIH has linked, National Institute of Health, has linked emotional repression to dysregulated cortisol levels, insulin resistance, and higher risk of heart attack. So why are they having that level of emotional stress, that level of chronic stress? Can you see how it's just like, oh, I have an obesity problem, I have an obesity problem, I have an eating problem, I have an eating problem, I have a heart problem, I have a heart problem. But it's like, what if, and they're like, oh, it runs in my family, right? Maybe you've had that. So, like myself as well, heart disease runs in my family, stroke, yep. And then cancer, and cancer is known to be conflict. So conflict with yourself, conflict with your parents, whether they're living or deceased, conflict, long-term conflict with people at work is what I see. Basically not owning and declaring your truth and like just a long-standing conflict. I see that with clients. And getting that you can actually, can even, something that we teach in NLP can sound a little insensitive, but it's actually supposed to be empowering of like all of our unconscious minds considered at some point decided to get sick. So it's like someone has cancer and it's like, when did you decide to get cancer? When did you decide that to get cancer? It sounds so strange, but like, it's so cool because I have clients that are so cool and conscious and self-aware. And so they're like, wow, like I can see where there was a piece of me that kind of decided this and there's some kind of payoff. So when we ignore the body and we ignore things from the past and the emotions that we're feeling, and we just are trying to work really hard and we're trying to stay strong, and yeah, it wreaks havoc on the body. And also, as a way to avoid the emotions, is bad habits: numbing, eating, procrastination, no motivation, exercise. Like, when are we going to be like having people leave the hospital and say, here's a guide for how to feel your emotions as you're going through this time? Why have I never said that out loud before? That would be awesome, right? People leaving post-op and like having their pain and knowing how emotional it is to feel pain, and like have your lifestyle be like depending on the person and what's going on. Like, that's hard. And then people, not being as active, and then they're gaining weight, and that could be a bigger stressor. It's like not really helpful to produce the environment that healing works the best in. So to go a little bit further on like my experience with the emotionality, I share this during the training as well. When I had been following a food addiction program for 3 years, I was perfect at it. When I say I was perfect at it, perfect. I was like the star student in a community of thousands of people. Not the star, but like there weren't a lot of people in those thousands of people who were in this food addiction program that like kind of made it look easy to like never go off it. Got down to 108 pounds. It was like the dream body. Like I saw a picture one time of this yogi, and she had like a super svelte body and like the sports bra on top. And, I was like, I want that body. Like, I want that body. And, so I feel like there was some kind of internal something in me that like really did want that body. And so I was able to kind of do that. Well, then I got down to that body and it was like, there was a lot of fear. It got harder and harder for me to stay on track. I thought I was really happy. Like, it was really inauthentic though. I was really rigid. And I would like isolate myself because I like had my own meals. It was like almost arrogant in a way. Like, I don't know. It was my perfectionist part that was like running the show thinking that it was me. That's literally what it was. Yeah. And, we can't live forever as apart. It's like authenticity is the only reality. And so to master other realities, like I'm a human being and I really appreciate experiences and not having to like deprive myself of experiences just because, I also stopped believing that I was a food addict and that my brain was broken. I went to Bali, and if anyone has seen the Eat, Pray, Love movie or read the book, which I think was better, I didn't even know this actually till a few years ago. It was actually the medicine man that what's her name? Gilbert, the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert, right? It was the same healer, shaman that she went to there that I went to. It was a cool experience. I was the second to last person to go. Anyway, you go to this, you drive up, did like an hour and a half long ride on mopeds. And then, because we were headed to a different place for the weekend in Ubud, if you know Bali, going to the yoga barn, because there was an ecstatic dance there, and I went to do a yoga class there, and I heard it was like a beautiful town. So it was me and another colleague that moped there, and then everybody was talking about it, like, oh, we gotta see this famous whatever on Bali. It's like, okay. So anyway, You walk in, and then it's just like a lot of people that are sitting in this area, in this like Buddhist outdoor temple area where he's sitting. And then one by one, people go to him, and he has you laid down and he's like hitting your feet and poking you, and like whispers, like saying things, but it's all public in front of all these people. The other thing is he doesn't speak any English. He has a translator, but it's like, but somehow, in your body like knows like it's not fake. Yeah, there was something that was really interesting about that. Yeah, and so since everybody had cleared out, they left on their mopeds out of there, but I was the second to last person. It was kind of like an intimate moment with me and that person. He's since deceased, I heard. And I just said, what about my addiction? Like I was like my, food addiction. Like, what about my addiction? And he knew enough English to like, and it was like almost to me. He's like, no addiction. He said, it's all in here. And then I think, I forgot about this. I feel like he might have said like, it's all here, like in your heart. The other thing that he said to me was, you're here to help people find their passion. That's what he said. Very simple. You are here to help people find their passion. I said nothing. I filled out no form. Like I'm an American coming to Bali. And like that, yeah, kind of touches my heart, to be honest, because it's what I care about. Anyway, so that's emotions telling you that was, meaningful. It was really helpful. Yeah, and I think that was one of many signs that showed me like it was time to evolve out of believing that there was something wrong with me. And that I could actually be free, That was really what it was. It was like, wow. But that was terrifying because basically it's an identity shift. Like your whole identity is shifting from operating from perfectionist part to like trying to find out who the authentic part is. But what's so cool is that when you start feeling your feelings, that is when it becomes really natural to be your authentic self. Like that's the access, and like it allows you to build in the muscle of behavioral flexibility, which we teach in NLP, to be able to like say yes to a little bit of that dessert and no to that one, and like just have neutrality. It's like a window is a window, a door is a door, an apple's an apple, a cookie's a cookie. Like there was a time, if you're watching this live, you can see my face, but like there was a time when I was like, cookie, you know what I mean? Like, cookie? Who said cookie? Like literally, nothing wrong with it, but that was the experience. And now I just notice myself like unconsciously and automatically saying like, cookie, because I'm not excited about it, because I faced my fears about it. I stopped making that cookie bad and wrong and judging it as the devil, because the same way, looking at a Bible script, that Adam and Eve could eat any apple but not that one apple, like the forbidden fruit effect is real. You want it even more and even harder when you're judging that food as the devil, as bad, as terrible, as wrong, as unhealthy, as fattening, as whatever. That has to happen. So yeah, just kind of like giving you also just a window of awareness into what that process looks like. And then when starting to reintroduce those foods again on purpose, like bring them in, with this new mindset. Yeah, you're forced to have to face the fears and the thoughts that come along with eating that food. And like, because your brain actually gets wired to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you look fat today. Like you're so inflamed. What are some other examples that I hear people say? Like, oh, I'm so puffy. Oh, my face is so puffy. And definitely, you know, if they start to notice some more pain, then that's really triggering. Anyway, like that was the stuff, like, because I used to have that too, of literally if I ate one thing off out of line, it would be like I thought for sure I could see it the next day. And like your brain gets trained to look at these little tiny micro things. And then another turning point was also when I was in Bali, might have been in Thailand at that point. But this girl, another colleague of mine, another digital nomad friend, I don't know if she was doing it on purpose or not, but she pulled out her phone with a definition of orthorexia. And yeah, what it is, if you're not familiar, I think most of us heard of anorexia, right? Bulimia. Orthorexia is just like knowing everything about health. Like I was saying earlier when I was talking about the research of like the inflammatory markers and me studying all of that, and like, yeah, that starts to be how your brain gets wired. But it's actually, it goes over the line and it starts to affect your life. And when I read that, I was like, well, that sounds like me. And I remember making a decision in that moment of being like, well, I don't want to have a mental health issue. Like, that's not healthy. Like, I have something that's diagnosable, you know, like, and it's mental health. So, you know, and sharing with you just in case, you know, it helps you in any way. I have people that they might not resonate with that as much. I feel like, but that's what I feel like I'm qualified to be coaching this, because mine was to that extreme, you know? So when I got to where, yeah, it got to the point where on the like kick side, on the other side of me being 108 pounds and achieving the perfect body, but eventually kind of getting shaky and having all these things that I just shared with you. Yeah, I found myself in India. I was taking a journey back to the States, my first journey back to the States in 2 years. And so, but I was finishing my leadership training first after Australia. I had to leave Australia because my visa was expiring. Could stay there for a year and had to finish my training in India. And luckily I met a girl in Australia who had moved to India, back to India where she was from. And she was like super generous. Like, what a light that girl is. I still just like, yeah, if you're out there, I wish you the best. You're great. She was really amazing. Yeah, so she invited me there to stay with people that she knew that were also in the leadership training. And yeah, so while I was there, when I wasn't staying with those people, I was in an apartment in the south of India, and Chennai, if you're familiar with India. And it was summer. And if you ever meet someone from India, they will tell you, if you just mention summer to them, they'll all go, oh, no. Because, like, literally test it sometime. Just be like, oh, I heard the summers in India are bad. And if you're from India listening to this, like, tell me. Tell me if you don't agree, but I've never met someone. So that's how bad the summer was. And I was living in an attic apartment in this town. Didn't really love that town or who I was meeting, to be honest. And I was working. I was into my work. Always have been into my work. But I was up at like, the hours were terrible for the like conversion to the United States. And so literally the times I could work was like 1 a.m. to like 3 a.m. I'm not kidding. It felt like there was like a lesser window than there ever could be or should be. It was the worst time. Like, I've done so many time zones and worked everywhere. India was the worst to the United States. If you know what I'm talking about, tell me. It's tough. It's brutal. Australia was fine. Bali was fine, compared to that. In Bali, I was working from like 8 p.m. to like 11 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., but everybody else was still out after that. So I would just take my scooter and go and meet people after, and then you'd be at the beach during the day. So I could make things work. India was tough. Anyway, so it's hot. I'm going through this transition time. I'm headed back to the States. Yeah, and I'm not sleeping great, and it's right. Anyway, I found myself binging, like binging. Um, it was the first time, but it was because I know I never had, it only was when I started the food addiction program that I ended up um, binging. Like I never, like, I would always, like, there's sometimes, like, isolated times, but it was after the food addiction program started that, like, it started to feel like it was like that vacuum cleaner kind of feel. Like you can't, like you knew, like the noise was so loud as you were doing it. Like it was like, it felt like it got really loud. But it was like on healthy food. It was like apples and peanut butter and like celery and peanut butter and maybe, I don't know, like granola bar or like, you know, just like, but it was just like, you know, kept going, kept going, kept going. Um, and I was anyway, so that only started after the food addiction program like that. And I was like, but it wasn't until I was in India that I was like, whoa, like what is that? But turns out the longer that you restrict that heavily, the bigger the pendulum swings. Like pushing a beach ball underneath water, and if you know, you know. I know many people I've worked with have been in that situation before. Huge extremes. It also shows you how smart and capable you are. Um, you know, I have a friend who used to be anorexic, and she's one of the strongest, smartest, most loving human beings I've ever known. Um, PhD, killing it, you know. Luckily, she healed out of that, and I love her so much, and I'm just love being her friend. Um, but all that to say, like, it can happen to anyone, and it's not really a sign of weakness. It's just neural pathways getting grooved into your mind for enough time. And if the earlier you started dieting, like that friend of mine, was going to OA meetings with her mom growing up, or FA meetings. So like that's a very young age to get like programming about like that food is the devil, in there, or that's a bad food, that's a terrible food. But they say things to you like your brain is broken. My brain is broken. They also were training us to say, thank you, God, that's not my body. It's something. It's something. It's something. It's quite the way to train your brain. And I see for like people who might be on their deathbeds in the immediate moment and has to lose weight that quickly, maybe it's necessary to like go to that extreme. But as far as sustaining that from that level of extremeness, I think not possible. So it would have to be a choice and be seen as a lifestyle. Anyway, so that was the kickback from that. Lots of Indian food. If you know, you know. India has very greasy food. Wasn't my favorite, not gonna lie. Sorry. I do like Indian food. Just it was a lot. Um, yeah. So I was eating a lot of it. And I remember I like bought a whole like bottle of wine for myself, and it just felt like it was almost like I was like dissociated as it was happening. Like I was just like have to do this, like, but like there's, right? It's like really upsetting. But, and if you know, you know, say it like 100 times a day, like how many times have you like felt like that? Maybe when you're walking to the fridge, like it's almost like your brain and your body are separated. Never really thought about it like that before, but that's how it felt. Let me know if you can understand what I'm saying. So then it feels scary because it's like some other part of me is operating this system while this one is so loud and pulling me back, but you still go and you eat the food. And then you do enjoy, it's like there's, right? It's like our minds and our bodies disconnect. And yeah, that's the thing. So how do we connect them again? We connect them again through NLP and hypnosis. That's how you connect them again. And then take action outside your comfort zone. Do the opposite of what you think and stay strong. Stay the course. Do it as long as it takes. Depending on how strict and rigid that one most recently was, it can be more painful at first because like me from India, being from that strict, like, so sometimes that can feel really scary, but we give you the tools that you need to feel that as you're going through that. It just depends on the extremeness, but then some people, they're okay, you know, like, you know, there's things to feel and things to learn and things to see, but their pendulum, you know, and it doesn't mean anything. It's just like that person trained their brain harder at the diet world and it's harder to reprogram, you know, than you who kind of followed it. Like, anyway, the access is all the same. It's the unconscious to help get you back in your body again. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're like happy to be in your body. And it's not tied to the size. It's just like you're living inside it. That's my experience. Like looking in the mirror, seeing myself, and being attracted to myself, to be honest. Honestly, I was just really thinking about it. I was just like, no, I really do enjoy that, you know? But I remember before my body balanced back out, you know, after I did it the right way of like being nice to myself and learning balance, you know. What a concept. Yeah, I didn't always love it, but I bought clothes that made me feel as good as possible. And that really helped to just like, no matter what it was. And at the time, it was more like loose fitting things and like dresses and, you know, but like make myself look good so I can like what I see, like get underwear that doesn't like push me in too tight when I'm looking in the mirror. Like, don't get a mirror that's not, you know, somewhat nice to you, you know. Anyway, and then just started doing all the activities, you know, that I like to do. And yeah, and did a lot of the feeling of the feelings and getting support. I had coaching to help me do that because, yeah, what got me out of that binge cycle that time in India was me feeling my feelings and not recognizing how much anger and self-hatred that there was inside myself. I never thought I was an angry person, but there's my family history. I had of heart disease, and you know, that can lead to, that could be from unprocessed anger. And I do think that I have that, you know, handed down. I didn't think I was angry, but it was actually my unconscious was suppressing that emotion. And both dieting and food or whatever numbing agent was happening because I was not feeling anger, which is a normal human emotion. But like, how wrong was it made, you know? Like, anger wasn't tolerated in my house, you know? But yet people were angry, but like nobody told you what it was, you know? And so you're just like, I don't know, it's just interesting. So yeah, and as soon as I felt the feelings, which underneath that anger and hatred was like sadness, like sobbing sadness. Um, yeah, it was. And it was sadness about how mean I was to me. I couldn't believe how mean those parts of me were being to each other. And it was like something went off in my brain after like I let it out. Um, yeah. That just like was like, oh my God, like you're being so mean to me. Like it was hurt. Actually, that's exactly what it was. Because underneath sadness is fear and hurt. But I was at hurt. And turns out it was hurt all along. And anyway, once that passed through, then literally food was not a problem. The binging, the food, didn't even care about it, wasn't concerned about it, wasn't ruminating about what I was going to do tomorrow or how I had to stop. Like, no, like feeling the emotion was just like, I'm good. Like, and it just made me realize that the whole time had been of me struggling with my weight and with food, and all of that was actually because I was not processing my emotions properly. So some people will come to me and will be like, no, I don't have any problem crying. Like I cry a lot. But if you still struggle, then there's still a root cause that's missing. And it's not like we need to see it and transform it. And then you get released from it. It only takes 90 seconds. And I have so many different tools and I know how to use them really well. So yeah, it's for the person that really wants to like seek that, yeah, that level of understanding and that level of, yeah, changing and transforming just that relationship with food to one that's healthy and balanced and kind and without fear, because it's real. All those feelings that you feel like when you're transitioning into like out of dieting and into freedom, you know. Yeah, it's a lot of fear, and it's in a big part because of science and our healthcare system just saying that that's the problem. And I'm just wanting you to know that the emotions are the problem. And yeah, there's millions of tools. I have them all. So yeah, this speaks to you or anyone that you know that you feel could use that help. I love doing it. And with people who are committed and they're coachable, they're seeking the coaching, they want my feedback, like, you know, kind of that. And then they are willing to take action. Like, get the feedback, value the feedback, use it and run. Like, that's, you're going to get it. It's fun. We have a good time. Shout out to my clients if you're listening or watching live. You can let me know if you agree that we have a good time. Or let everyone know. Yeah. So, what history of diseases runs in your family? Cancer, digestive things, you know, depression, diabetes, heart disease. And then just ask, you know, do I also feel like any of those major negative emotions are kind of a theme in my family? And what if that resonates with you, amazing. Like, then why, like, let's work on the thing, you know? But another thing that I have been taught recently has been about how, yeah, they said there's usually one black sheep in every family. And I know a lot of my people feel, you know, like different somehow, usually in their families somehow. And But that person, that black sheep in every family, is meant to actually, like, in a way, guide the souls of the other people in the family, like, which makes them a little bit, like, different or contradictory. But, like, anyway. Actually, I think the Kardashians, the mom actually told the daughter that. That's not the first time I heard it, but I think it was also validated in her saying that. Sometimes I like to watch the Kardashians, especially when I'm wanting to get motivated for work, because those girls hustle really hard. And so sometimes if I need to like have like a get it done time, I'm like, great, put the Kardashians on because those girls are hustling and it will like remind me. You can take that tip if you need that. Anyway, yeah, emotions matter. They affect our health. And yeah, we have the opportunity to change our lineage and our, when we actually like be like, hey, actually, why don't we learn how to deal with like emotions and conversations and difficult situations. That's another of my, like, that's a lot of what we do sometimes is look at conversations, if relationships aren't working as well as they could, professionally, personally, unpacking those conversations and, giving you what you need so that you can, right? And that creates more safety and, right, security in the body. It makes us so we don't do as many bad habits because you're not actually, right, learning how to address the situation powerfully. Yeah. So, love you so much. And thanks for listening. It's been a fun one. Ready to finally break free from the diet hamster wheel and create lasting transformation? I've put together a free hypnosis training just for you, where I break down why diets keep failing, the mindset shifts you need to stop the cycle, and how to rewire your subconscious for true effortless change. Text the word hypnosis to 1-855-232-5483 and I'll send it to you instantly. You don't have to keep struggling. Real freedom starts now. Take the first step. Text the word hypnosis to 1-855-232-5483.